Hello, 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 and welcome to The Difference Makers. I'm your host, Jacqueline Grant, and we are here for a very special, very sensitive, very cyberific type of episode today. If you are working from home during these days, you may not be as secure as you think. If you are using internet from other places when you're out and about, you may want to think twice. Why? Because our cybersecurity expert is here to share with us tips, strategies, and some little known secrets that you may not know, but need to know to be able to keep yourself, your business, your details, and of course, your banking information secure. Let me share with you who our guest is for today. Again, this is The Difference Makers. We make sure to bring to the virtual platform those who are making a difference in the world through their careers or through their businesses using their gifts, talents, and abilities. And today we have with us Shaun St.Hill. Shaun is a technology industry veteran with more than 20 years of experience. After a career that includes working for places like AT&T, Shaun started his own technology consulting firm called Tech and Main, offering cybersecurity solutions and ancillary products to clients in the public as well as in the private sectors. He is also a host of a weekly cybersecurity podcast called Tech and Main, and he resides right here in the Atlanta area with his wife and daughter. So please help me to have a warm welcome to the virtual stage, the virtual platform, Mr. Shaun St.Hill. Welcome aboard.
Jacqueline Grant, it is so good to see you. How are you?
I am doing well now that you're here. We are glad to have you, and we need to know how to keep our stuff secure. How are we, number one, going to do that? I know you're going to let us know, but first and foremost, we need to know a little bit of your backstory. How do you know all of this? Tell us a little bit about how you make a difference in the world with your gifts and talents and cyber knowledge.
Oh, Jacqueline, that's a great question, and I'll give you the answer. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity to share with your audience and to be on to talk about this really important topic. Mm-hmm. So to answer your question, what am I doing to make a difference? Well, Jacqueline, first off, I'm here to honor God and serve my family and friends, my clients, and my fellow man. Mm-hmm. Now, in my daily work, I'm passionate about getting people to see cybersecurity as something that is easy to understand. And the way that we do that is primarily through customized engagements with our clients and education in the form of that weekly podcast that you mentioned, Tech and Main Presents.
So how did you come up with that name? Tech, I get that tech part, but are you the main solution? Is that what it is?
No, actually, so another in a series of what will probably be outstanding questions throughout this program. But the answer to that question, how did we come up with the name Tech and Main? So my wife and I, we were brainstorming ideas for the company when we started back in 2017. Mm-hmm. And we thought about technology in Main Street. And so that's where the name Tech and Main comes from. It's short for technology and Main Street. And so Main Street obviously is where, business and people are, interacting with each other. And then technology brings all of that together. Hence the name Tech and Main.
Awesome. And I'm sure that's a good conversation starter as well.
Absolutely.
So tell us, Shaun, how is it that we are all working from home now? This obviously in the thread here, obviously we're here live on LinkedIn, we're live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube. We want to find out what we can do to keep ourselves safe and secure, and what risks are we open to that we may not even realize, because this was a very hot topic in the thread when this was posted about you being a guest this week on our episode of The Difference Makers. People took note and they realized, I could possibly be at risk. I could be at risk for being hacked, not only for my own personal information, but my work information as well. So tell us about that.
Sure. So the one thing that I want people to understand first and foremost is there is no such thing as 100% security. Right? So let's dispel that myth right from the start. Companies and individuals all have the potential to be breached, hacked, disrupted, you know, pick an adjective, it can happen, right?
Mhm.
So the thing that we want to do, Jacqueline, is make sure that we are what we call in the industry cyber resilient, right?
Okay.
So what does cyber resilience look like? I'll give you an example. When you think of a castle, right,
Mhm.
you have the guard towers, you have the moat, you have, the archery men on top that are, defending the castle, right? And so those are layers of defense. And
Mhm.
as corporations and as individuals, what we want to do is create layers of defense to keep people out as best as we possibly can, right? And so I'm going to go through a few things quickly here just to give people, some ideas and some takeaways, for their personal life and for, their corporate life.
Okay.
So, if you are a corporation, one of the things that you can do is actually start changing your hiring processes. Stop making it so hard for people to come in and be a part of your security team, right? One of the things that you want as a part of your security team is differences of thought and different backgrounds, right? So that's a tip for our HR folks that are
Okay.
working, to bring in security people. We can't have this monolithic attitude thinking that all security people, are of one type or of, one mind. You want diversity of thought and diversity of input.
Okay.
For our individuals, especially those working from home, you need to think of yourself as a corporation of one,
Mm.
right? And so, what does that mean? That means that, for instance, if you are indeed working from home and you're doing work, never do it. And this is just, my opinion, and others in the industry would agree with me. Never do it on your personal computer, right? Because one of the things that hackers and bad actors are able to do is, if somehow they are able to get into your personal computing environment, if you've also been logging into your corporation or logging into your business, there's the potential for you to be used as, an entryway into your corporate network, especially if you're not using a VPN or some other sort of, secure way of getting into your corporate network. Another thing is when you're working from home, if you have family or friends that are coming by, set up a guest network, right?
Mm.
Comcast, AT&T, the internet service that they provide, it comes with your main network, which is what you and your family use for streaming and computing.
Mhm.
And so separate guests onto that guest network. So they have a division, if you will, or a barrier between your personal network that the family uses, and then the guests, they can have their own network. That's a way of keeping things segmented.
So can I jump in for a sec?
Yes, please,
Would
absolutely.
it make sense to you if your company does not provide you with a laptop to take home, and you've been working from home now probably more than a year, and it might go on longer than that. If you do not have the opportunity to have a computer that your company has provided to you, would it make sense to do your company business on that guest network?
It would if you had no other way of accessing your company network. The thing that I would recommend
Mhm.
is for and so I'm talking to our C levels now, the folks
Mhm.
that are responsible for
Making
that
those
corporate
decisions.
network, right? They have the budget, they
Mhm.
have that responsibility. If you are not willing to provide your workforce with a laptop, with a company laptop, then at a minimum, you should look at something that we call VDI, or virtual desktop instances. And so what that would allow, Jacqueline, is for the person working from home to be able to use really any device. And what they're doing is, instead of having the software and applications on your laptop or on a tablet, you're actually logging into a web portal and you're able to still work as you would, but that virtual desktop environment is secure, and all of the work applications and other things that you need to do for work are actually in the cloud and not on the physical device. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that I would really be adamant about. If I'm working from home and I'm not supplied with, some sort of laptop or another computing device, the company needs to, make it as safe as possible for themselves and for you, the user, by creating, like I said, that virtual desktop instance or that VDI environment.
Well, let's talk about some of the recent occurrences that have happened. You all know who they are out there, but we won't name any names, but major oil companies and phone companies and so forth. Why did this happen for them when they have supposedly the budgets, the dollars, the know-how, the research to secure themselves?
Jacqueline, again, another excellent question. And the easy answer is, in a number of cases, it's negligence, right? You mentioned the large oil supplier, right? That hack, we found out, was due to a third party having access to their network, and there not being, secure password protection in place. And so I'll throw in a plug for two things: password manager, right? LastPass and Dashlane and 123Password offer great free password managers. There's no reason for we as human beings to, continue using the same password or trying to remember the same password, right? Allow that password manager to do the work for you. It will create, anywhere from a 6 to, 156 different characters for your password. Let the password manager do the work for you. The second thing I'll issue a plug for is multi-factor authentication. I know some people think, oh my gosh, it's so inconvenient for me to get, an email or a text message, as that additional step or layer, to get access.
How inconvenient is it to be hacked and have to go through recovering your whole life?
Exactly. See the inconvenience of what Jacqueline just said, where if you are breached or hacked, you actually have to go back to square one, right? You're contacting, vendors, credit card companies, and banks, and Social Security, and all these other institutions. Take the time to apply two-factor or multi-factor authentication to every account, every application, everything that you use. Put that multi-factor authentication step as, again, that additional layer, to keep you as safe as possible.
Well, Shaun, I get these emails more frequently than I like, saying you've been hacked, or your business email address is no longer active, or these other messages that, if I were not on top of things, I would say, oh my goodness, and click on that email and open it up, and it likely has other links in there that was trying to draw me to click on them. What do you say about those, and where are they coming from?
So, Jacqueline, the world that we live in is very different than the world that you and I grew up in. Okay. So let's just put that out there. We live in a day and time where people look to take advantage of any and every situation, right? We are in the midst of the pandemic, and we all remember that, before the vaccine was available, hackers and other bad people were trying to stop the progress that these, companies were making in order to come up with the vaccine. Right? And so that just gives you an idea of the day and time that we live in. But as it relates to your question about, what to do with these emails and these different, text messages and, people, asking you for information and asking you to click here and click there. The simple rule is this: if you didn't initiate the contact, just go ahead and delete it. Okay. That's the easiest thing that you can possibly do. Think about it this way. If Netflix or your bank or your mortgage company or whomever was trying to get a hold of you, they do it more than once, right? And typically it's not initiated via email.
And they'd spell my name correctly.
And that's the other giveaway, Jacqueline. They know how to spell your name, right? When you look at that email, the thing that I always get a kick out of is, go to where it's, don't obviously click on any of the links in the email.
Hover.
But if you open the email, go right to the top and just hover over the address. And, you and I, we're not different than any of the folks listening or that will be listening. You can see when you hover over that link, it's not Netflix that's trying to get to you. It's something at gmail.com. Right. And so again, that in and of itself is also a dead giveaway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I also get a lot of spam emails that I put into the spam folder so it can go away from that standpoint. But I'm really tempted to open the email and click unsubscribe, because most of the time I never did it subscribe, but I'm very concerned about clicking the unsubscribe because maybe that's a trap as well. What do you say about that?
Actually, Jacqueline, that's very insightful. So I'll speak to that and to when you get a text message and there's 50 people in the group message, right? The thing that you never want to do in either of those is respond, right? So for that text message where there's 50 numbers that you've never seen before, just go ahead and delete it, right? That email that you've gotten from, whomever that you're not familiar with, go ahead and delete it, because when you reply stop, what you've done is you've validated that mobile phone number that they're using to send a message, right? The same thing with the email. When you click unsubscribe, you are verifying that this is an active email address, right? And so all you're doing is alerting the bad actors and the threat actors that are doing this. Hey, this is Jackie. This phone number is still good. This email address is still good. So just go ahead and delete it.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate those tips, because here on The Difference Makers, we want to be able to make a difference in the lives of people. And if we can help one of you out there not to get hacked or not to get spammed and have your computer shut down, and that did happen to me several years ago, where I got some message about whatever it was, and I clicked to delete it or did something where my whole system shut down. And it just so happens I was in school at the time, and some of the tech guys could help me out and use something to be able to recover everything. But it was very, very scary not having access to my whole system. So you are definitely making a difference, Shaun, in the world. We'd like to know from you, how do you work with your clients, and who are your usual clients?
So great question, Jacqueline. So the way we work with our clients is through a customized engagement. And so what does that mean, right? We ask questions first before we start pushing products and solutions. So a typical engagement is where you and I, the business owner or the decision maker, actually talk through what's going on in your environment, right? What do you have? What are you seeing? And then based on that, we go back and we start to put those notes together, and we send that back over to you. So we're double checking to make sure that we understand what it is you're looking for. And once you've come back to us and confirmed that, these are the things that we're looking for, we've had a ransomware attack, we've, got employees working from home, and, we don't have visibility into their networks. What can we do? It's then that we start putting together some solutions and, some best practices for you to look at and take advantage of. The clients that we are typically serving fall into a number of industries. The industries that we focus on primarily are typically in the real estate and nonprofit verticals.
And the nonprofits definitely need your assistance.
Absolutely. The one thing that we're seeing, especially in the nonprofit space, is that nonprofits of all sizes are not taking advantage of some of the free tools and free services available. So I'm going to put in a plug here for Microsoft's nonprofit tools. Right. So if you are a nonprofit, an executive director, you're on the board of directors, Microsoft has some amazing free or low cost tools to help your nonprofit. So for instance, if you are a nonprofit that has 10 employees or less, Microsoft will give you a free Office 365 license, right? I did say free, not think about free, not partially free. It's free. So you can have free, exactly. So you can have, an email address, and you have the suite of services that Microsoft offers along with that Office 365 environment. So that's, again, it's taking advantage of what's out there. And then even on the security side, there are a number of open source or free tools that are available. So if you said, hey, we don't have the budget, actually talking to someone like myself, we can help you find tools and solutions that are either at no cost or as low as possible.
Okay. And when someone is considering your service, where are they in their business that they know that they need someone like you? What is kind of the precursor or the pre-situation that says, oh, we need to call Shaun?
Jacqueline, it's typically when companies, nonprofits, for-profits, when they are looking at making some sort of technology shift, right? So let's say, for instance, they have a server on site or their phone systems on site, and they know that there are some cost savings to be had by moving those services and applications to the cloud. That's typically when they will engage someone like myself, because, let's be honest, right? We don't know everything that there is to know. Right? And so you would typically look for someone to come alongside you and help, make that transition. And that's what we do. First and foremost, like I said at the beginning, we're here to serve. Right. And so even if you don't go with our services, we are more than happy to be a sounding board and help point you in the right direction, because at the end of the day, whether you're a for-profit or not, the person that you are serving, that customer, that, whatever you call them, that donor, that's a human being. Right. And so you have a responsibility to protect that customer, that employee, any person that is internal or external to your environment. You have a responsibility to protect them. Contact us, contact, someone that can help you do that, so that you can not only stay in business, but that your business can thrive as well.
Wow. That's great advice. That's great advice. But I have two more burning questions for you, Shaun.
Go for it, Jacqueline.
Number one is, for all of our individuals who may be homeschooling their children, and you have multiple children on multiple devices and you're keeping track of everything and security for them, maybe you're working from home as well. What do you have to say about those individuals and how you might be able to help them? I don't know if that's a part of business you want, but what advice would you have for them?
No, that's that's a great question, Jacqueline. And so the one thing I would do is, going back to your internet service provider, right? The comment that I made earlier about, AT&T, Comcast, Cox, whomever you have, right? Not only do they have the ability to segment the network, right? So that's probably one thing that I would do is, I would put the kiddos' devices on that guest network, right? But also take advantage of the security tools that your ISP provides. So, you know, I don't have stock in Comcast, but just shouting out Comcast and some of the wonderful things they are doing by building in security in the cloud, so that so that your internet service is protected. Take advantage of the things that are already available to you. I mean, obviously, Windows Defender, um, web application firewalls, those things are available. But in that home environment, maybe you're homeschooling or you're a micro school, there's some simple things that you can take advantage of. Like I said, segmenting things to that guest network, taking advantage of the security portfolio that's built into your internet service are some great ways to go.
Awesome. Awesome. I know our audience will definitely find that valuable as well. So lastly, can you give us some closing tips that maybe you haven't already covered in this very valuable interview? Any other closing thoughts that you have for our audience?
Absolutely. So this will be, part shameless plug, part pro tip. So as I mentioned, we have a weekly podcast, Tech and Main Presents, right? And so, would love for those in the listening audience to, listen to the podcast. But beyond listening to the podcast, one of the things that you'll find is, we are interviewing guests. These are CEOs of publicly traded companies, thought leaders, decision makers in cybersecurity and technology in general, right? So when you listen, the people that are on the program, they're telling you throughout information to help you be a better person, to help you, learn a little bit more about them. And what I would say is, for instance, if you're looking for a job in healthcare security, we've done 5 episodes with people that are in healthcare and cybersecurity. You can contact those people. Their information's in the show notes. They want you to reach out to them. So, avail yourself of the podcast, but also take the guests up on their invitation to connect with them, because building relationships is what this is all about.
It is. It truly, truly is. And I love what you said about contacting the guests. They want to be contacted. And sometimes people feel like, oh, they wouldn't want to talk to me. Why would they want to talk to me? I have met the greatest people when I've done speaking engagements at different places. And as soon as I'm finished, people I usually speak about LinkedIn or other business related topics, and they will look me up on LinkedIn and send me a message, and they can't believe that I actually respond to them.
Right.
Love it.
Jacqueline, and I'll say this as just an example, right? So there was a gentleman that I interviewed probably a few months back. His name's Vaughn Hazen. He is the Chief Information Security Officer for Canadian National. That's the largest railroad company in Canada. When I interviewed Vaughn, he said at the end of the episode, "I am hiring. Please reach out to me," right? So for those that were listening at that moment in time, and of course, I can't speak to, whether he's hiring today or not, but at that time, if you were listening to the podcast, you would know, okay, if I'm looking for a cybersecurity position with, a large reputable company, that would have been your opportunity to reach out to Vaughn and raise your hand and say, hey, I'm interested. Tell me more.
And if you are creative, even if you're not interested in cybersecurity, but you're interested in healthcare as a whole, you could say, I'm interested in healthcare in this particular sector. For instance, all my project managers out there, healthcare and project management is a great marriage and definitely a needed service. And maybe there's an opportunity for an introduction for another part of the organization. Oftentimes we need an in, and an in doesn't have to be in a direct related industry or position type. It can be within the industry or it can be within a company. And this is a great way, because when you have that first sentence of, I saw you on such and such.
Yes, Jacqueline.
They are going to go, oh, well, someone actually watched me.
Yes, exactly. I'll say this last thing real quick. Mm-hmm. So there's a young man who was an Uber driver on one of my Uber trips recently. Long story short, that young man was looking to get into cybersecurity. I put him in contact with one of my guests. I hadn't met that young man prior to that time, but that's what we're here to do. We're here to help and position people for greatness, Jacqueline. And so if there's
Absolutely.
anything that I can do for you, any of your guests, please let me know.
That is a fantastic offer, and I'm sure some of my guests out there will take you up on that. Please do.
I'm
Please
hoping
do
so.
take him up on his offer. The difference maker, Shaun St.Hill. Thank you so much, Shaun. This was a great episode, and I thank you so much
Jacqueline.
for being here and continue to make a difference in the world because you make a difference to me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you.